The natural inclination for someone to automatically default to when thinking that Linux-based operating systems are somehow virus-proof is one you might find strongest amongst those who are new to the world of Linux and tech. Perhaps their impressions of tech still revolve around watching the latest Linus Tech Tips video or reading on r/PC Master Race. But as you, yes, you are watching this video on my channel, subscribe by the way because you are indeed a real one, you are likely already aware of this pitfall. Of course, Windows faces the brunt of consumer-facing malware, viruses and the likes, and the single biggest factor for this is simply because it is the biggest and most widespread operating system used by average consumers today, and has been for decades now, meaning, historically at least, if you decided to spend your precious time to develop some malicious programs, if you designed it to target Windows-based systems specifically, you would have a greater chance of reaping some kind of success in your endeavour, and maybe even get some kind of reward in the form of building your very own botnet or something. You could even create something bespoke to target an individual company's system, like a bank running a specific version of Windows XP. However, the game has changed in recent years. The rise of easily accessible large language models have decreased the required skill levels to pull some tech buffoonery off, or at least something noteworthy. LLMs have also decreased the manpower required to create something capable of exploiting valuable targets. Spec-driven development, SDD, paired with sprint scheduling with multiple teams of developers, is now quickly becoming something the industry is having to take note of. Spec-driven development, the new buzz around AI circles, is to design a set of instructions to feed into an LLM to create specific parts of a subsystem, to then work together as a part of a larger system that works to fulfill the required specifications for the client, with sprints being an amount of time dedicated to completing a set number of tasks within a set amount of time. Whilst discussing project management methodologies is definitely not the focus of today's video because that would be boring, it forms the process of how these Chinese developers were able to construct the reportedly 88,000 lines of code worth of malware. Usually this size would not be attributed to a good piece of malware, as the devs would want to keep it as small as possible to try to remain undetected on the system it aims to infect. But due to the devs' heavy reliance on AI agents to write the bulk of the code, it is meticulously documented, reportedly inflating the size of the codebase quite a bit. That is to say, this isn't any old malware in the traditional sense. Oh no, this malware is actually a highly modular framework designed to grant the user long-term, sustained access to Linux enterprise systems in a variety of environments, like containers or cloud-based servers. What's a little murky currently, however, is that according to InfoSecurity magazine, in their reporting of this malware framework, it is not currently clear whether or not this piece of software is designed purely with malicious intent in mind, or whether it is intended to be sold as a piece of pen testing equipment to companies. One argument for this being a security testing kit produced to be sold to legit companies/clients is that it has in-depth, technically accurate documentation as discovered by security researchers at Checkpoint Research. Malware isn't exactly known for its plethora of documentation unless it's sold as a service. Of course, as with any pen testing software, assuming it is so, it could be misused by malicious actors. But again, we aren't so sure if that's its specific purpose. It's a little grey right now. And back to the point of the meticulous documentation, I mentioned that this could be an indicator that this is to be sold to official clients, legit companies, etc. But meticulously documenting code is actually a feature of these AI agents, or something that they tend to do unless you specify that they can't do it. So it's a bit of a 50-50 right now. It's not certain one way or the other which side the developers are going for. Is it legit, or is it supposed to be malicious? It seems the developers behind this malware framework used a specific coding agent known as Trae AI to assist in the development of the software. This is a legit AI agent, so nothing seemingly below board in that regard, but we will get back to that in just a second. Another interesting thing about this malware framework is how its core utilities are written in Zig, which is, from my current understanding, trying to position itself as the successor to C in terms of systems development, whilst apparently being significantly more memory safe than C. Other parts of the system are written in C and elements of the backend written in Go. This is most definitely not the product of a script kiddie in China context engineering ChatGPT into writing 88,000 lines worth of code. This is likely a small team, or maybe even an experienced individual who knows their craft, utilizing specific AI coding agents to speed up the process of which they can develop and deploy a commercially viable pen testing product, or maybe a malicious malware framework they can sell as a service to other malicious actors. In the case of the latter, it might be worth mentioning that the specific AI agent used to assist in the coding of this software is actually owned by ByteDance, with the model being developed and trained with systems integrated with TikTok. So Chinese devs use Chinese AI to maybe pen test Burgerland servers, maybe. The fact that a single guy could have realistically developed this within a few weeks or less is a sign of the times, and how much AI can lower the bar to potential developers writing this kind of code. It reminds me of that quote by that one random NVIDIA guy, I don't know what his name is, talking about how developers are not going to be replaced by AI, but by those who incorporate AI into their workflow. Food for thought. I think it's also worth paying attention to the final few sentences at the end of the InfoSecurity magazine report last month. Whilst most malware development has been focused on Windows environments, the creation of such an advanced framework dedicated to Linux-based cloud environments shows that these platforms are a valid target for threat actors. They then go on to say, defenders should proactively secure their Linux, cloud and container environments and be prepared to defend against advanced threats such as VoidLink. Whilst this specific malware framework has not been reported to have been spotted being actively used in the wild, this is most definitely a sign of the times, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see something similarly powerful to take root in otherwise unlikely targets like Linux-based enterprise systems or even consumer-grade software like macOS. Subscribe to the channel, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.